I think it's important to teach the students not only the technical skills, of course they have to know about the technology, but this is something they can easily learn by themselves or in other courses, in other ways. What I think is important that we teach students to deal with the technology, to cope with the technology, how to integrate it in their lives, how to make it in a way that they have good lives and that the technology is not creating problems for them. So that is very important. And for that, I think it's good in education in general, but also in vocational training, to not forget the humanistic and philosophical aspect. Because of course our whole society is, the narrative is we have to prepare people for the job market, right? Is like the main narrative, we have to innovate and so on. But what we forget in this story is that we also have to support people to grow and to develop into adults that can deal with this world and that can also perhaps change this world. We need a broader education. In Germany there is a term Bildung, for example, right? So it's not only about teaching certain skills or transfer of knowledge, but it's also about the personal development. It's about also thinking about what kind of citizens do we need if we really want a democracy, if we're serious about that. What do they need to know? What kind of skills as citizens do they also need? So I think it's important to move away from the narrow understanding of professional training and innovation to a more broader humanistic way of doing that. Because I think it's not because someone is not going to university that this person doesn't need that kind of skills and that kind of broader knowledge to deal with the world today. The world today is very complex, it's very confusing, it's very rapidly changing also. And I think we need to prepare people for this. Now, in order to do that, I think we have the problem that today that the teachers themselves also don't know very well what to do. And this is normal, and we need also to teach the teachers. We need in the educational programs for teachers, we also need to have that angle, philosophy, for example, thinking about technology, thinking about society, so that they then can also transfer that kind of knowledge and that kind of perspective, especially to bring that perspective to the young people. And another thing that is very important for me is to also put this in the context of for whom are we doing this, and who decides what kind of education we will have. The problem is often that we think about technology, about innovation, about economy in ways that are often targeted at a very particular group, at adults, at male adults, for example. And we forget children, we forget teenagers, we forget women and so on. So I think it's very important to have a more inclusive kind of view there. And that can also be done again in the education for the teachers, so that they can know also what to do for specific groups and adapt it to the age of the people. We need to think more about what does it mean, for example, for teenagers to grow up in this world with the technologies, how to integrate the technology in their lives. This is so important because they are, of course, it's a saying that everyone agrees with, that they are the future, they are the future humans, but we forget about it and we just give them the narrow skills for the job market. So if we want to change society, for example, we have to start with education. We have to start with children, with teenagers, and prepare them to be good citizens, to also be good people who can use technology in a way that leads to more human flourishing and leads to a better society. Who who defines what the future is, what kind of futures are there. I think this is a general question in society, but for this purpose, what we could do, I think as teachers, is to discuss also with the students what kind of future do you think there will be, what kind of future do you want. So I think sometimes we are too passive about the future. We just accept the narratives about the future that are already there, also about the technological future. And what we need to do, I think, is both as teachers and students to think together to create the narratives also. So one could, as a teacher, one could make the scenarios together, write something, make a little film or something like this, to think like what kind of future do you see with the technologies, with AI, for example. How can it be used to improve our lives? What would you think that would be a good use of AI? What kind of technology do you want? And then that could also generate interesting aspects. For example, there one can also see what from a gender perspective, for example, could be good technologies, or there could be migrants in a school, for example, who might have a different kind of narrative about their future than other people, and so on. So I think it allows for a lot of diversity, for a lot of different, diverse kind of scenarios for the future, and scenarios that go beyond the standardized kind of story about job market and about the technological future. That's really a problem. It's called, in the kind of area that I work in, techno-solutionism, that we always, there is a problem and we think technology has to solve it, and technology can solve it, and we don't need to do anything else. And what I think is that we need also a democratic discussion about things. We need also a broader perspective about good life and so on. And what the problem is that often nowadays, I mean, many people would agree that it would be good to have a broader education, but the problem is that we don't really support teachers and support schools with it. So I think that it shouldn't be the individual teachers and the individual schools even to make always the decisions. I think there should be public money going into support an agency or some research support also for them, so that the choice is not just left to them, and so that also not the choice for the technologies is just done by the private sector, private market, and then the teacher chooses technology. So I think we should have discussion about it, what are good technologies, and this can be done at different levels and also from the public side, so that there is enough input in terms of also research and reflection, because we have too little reflection today on technologies, what technologies to use, not just in the narrow sense of what program to use, but also like what place do we give these these predictive tools, for example, in education. Also in higher education, there's lots of questions about that. So I think it's now only starting that people are thinking about this. But we need to have public support for this kind of discussions, because it's the future that we are creating with our education. So I think it's very important to include students as stakeholders in this discussion, right? To ask them what they need also. For responsible and ethical innovation in technology, that's absolutely vital. So we have to ask them and also ask diverse groups of students, and not only those who might be already interested and already privileged and so on. What we then can do is of course, they need some input, they need some text, videos and so on that reflect on technology, so that they can discuss. I think it's good already in education to have this kind of, to build the skills to discuss about technology, because later in the professions they will have to do this anyway. They will also be the ones that make the decisions for the future. So we need to train them to have the discussions, and have also the skilled teachers who have already received education in thinking about technology. That's very important. So either by teaching the teachers, or by also having some experts coming in the schools and talking with students about technology.
you.